Welcome to the Cheating Secrets channel. I recognized him as soon as I saw him. The man. Having lunch with my wife Marcy was Craig Butler, her ex-boyfriend from college 23 years ago. Once a member of the Brotherhood, he will always remain a member of the Brotherhood. I didn't like him back then, and I still don't like him. She didn't mention she was having lunch with someone when I left for work this morning. I assumed it would be a typical workday for both of us. My name is John Terrell. Everyone calls me the copier specialist, although I don't repair them. I got this name many years ago when Xerox was the industry standard. Today, I take care of virtually any type of office equipment. I'm not thrilled with this job, but it paid off the mortgage and helped my two daughters graduate from college. Monday is my usual day in Harrisburg, but sometimes things change. I was urgently needed by the Americo Insurance Company in Allentown. I didn't need my usual service truck, so I took the company car. I finished faster than expected and decided to stop by Outback for a bite to eat. She didn't see me come in or leave. I found Marcy's yellow Mustang in the parking lot and waited until they left. The white company car was inconspicuous, so it was easy for me to follow them. It was a small ranch house. He parked his BMW in the garage, but Marcy parked in front of the house on the street. They got out of their cars and talked for a few minutes in front of the house. She was smiling and laughing. Occasionally, she shook her head, saying no, but smiled as she did so. I parked halfway down the street, but I had a good view. Finally, she lightly kissed him on the cheek and walked back to her car. He waited a moment, then waved as he entered the front door. That's when everything went wrong. Marcy opened the door to her car, but didn't get inside. She hesitated. She sighed, glancing back at the house. It seemed like a long time, but it was probably only a few seconds. I watched in fascination as she took off her wedding rings and placed them on the front seat console. She hesitated again, then removed her earrings. It turned out to be the diamond earrings I had given her for her last birthday. They also went on the console along with her mobile phone. She slowly walked to the front door and knocked. I wasn't good at confrontations, so I decided not to do anything foolish. I slowly approached the car, took everything off the central console, and then drove home to reading. In less than an hour, I quit my job and emptied the bank account. 2 hours later, I was in Frackville, drinking beer with my brother Ken. I left her rings, earrings, and phone on the kitchen table without a note or explanation. I was confident she would figure it out. I spent the next few days with Ken and his wife, trying to drink all the Yingling in Schuylkill County. By Friday morning, I was in Carlisle at the Franklin Driving Institute. 3 months later, I completed all the training and internship requirements and became a fully certified truck driver. I had no trouble getting a job with Franklin National's refrigerated division, which provided me with a guaranteed income and a brand new truck to drive. Shortly after I left, I called Claire, my eldest daughter. I explained what had happened and received a 5-minute lecture on how insensitive and inattentive I was. Since then, I haven't been in touch with either of my daughters. I bought a new cell phone. I won't bore you with the incredible complexities of interstate trucking. Due to government regulations and company policies, it was truly oppressive. And yet I endured. I was happy, though a bit lonely. Over the next 2 years, I was able to save most of my salary. My needs and expenses were minimal. I stopped by to see my brother a few times, but never stayed overnight. Marcy never contacted my brother, and he had no information about her status. It didn't take me long to figure out how to make the most of my time on the road. I participated in various programs. Free showers, laundromats, and gyms made life much easier. I met Norma Langford in Enid, Oklahoma. She was trying to buy gas with a malfunctioning credit card and cursing like a sailor. Being a gentleman, I asked if I could help and was promptly told to mind my own business and go to hell. 10 minutes later, I had just started to enjoy a chicken fillet sandwich when she plopped down at my table. Sorry, I acted like a jerk out there. Things aren't going well right now, and it's unfair to take it out on you or anyone else. I just looked at her and nodded. I'm Norma Jean Langford. She extended her hand, and I hesitantly shook it in return. John. A few minutes later, she spoke again. You offered to help when we were outside. Actually, I could use a little help. Is that offer still good? What do you need? Could you spare $2 for one of those microwave burritos? I slid a $10 bill across the table. Here. Go to the Chick-fil-A counter and get something decent. She grabbed it without hesitation and headed to the counter. 5 minutes later, she returned with a tray and handed me back 3 bills and some change. It took her twice as long as it should have to eat. She was a chatterbox. I finished my lunch and sat watching her. It was, to say the least, a bit mesmerizing. Her voice wasn't unpleasant, but it was constant. She didn't say anything important, just chattered away. Oddly enough, it didn't annoy me. In fact, it was quite the opposite. The only conversation I'd had with any woman in the last 3 years was with waitresses. I found myself smiling at the absurd things she said. When she finished, she took her tray with mine and cleared the table. So, John, where are you headed? Provo. Oh, good. Can I come with you? What about your car? A quick glance showed it was still at the gas station. I don't think that's going to work. Won't work without gas. She didn't answer me. Finally, I got up and headed to my truck. Norma Jean followed me as if I had agreed to her request. I opened the passenger door and she hopped in. She had no clothes or personal belongings. I have no idea what happened to the abandoned car. No, I can't explain it, but later that same day we went to a mall and I bought her a few things. Jeans, tops, underwear, and comfortable shoes. It was nice to have someone to talk to. To listen to. Norma Jean and I never had sex and were never close. From the beginning, it was a platonic relationship and nothing more. She told me her husband had died and didn't go into details. She had no children, and her parents were retirees in Florida. I did tell her about my situation with Marcy, and she seemed genuinely interested. Norma Jean slept while I drove, and while I slept, she did laundry and busied herself at truck stops. My fuel purchases covered her showers and occasional gym workouts, as well as my own. It was a bit awkward at first, but it quickly settled into a routine. A few times, Norma Jean asked me why I hadn't tried to have sex with her. I didn't have a good answer, so I simply told her I thought of her like a sister. She didn't push the issue. Everything was fine for about 9 months. The only problem that ever arose was her categorical refusal to enter the state of Pennsylvania. On 2 different occasions, I had to drop her off in Hagerstown and pick her up later. And then, it all ended. I received a message from the Department of the Interior that seemed a bit ominous. I was to return as soon as possible to meet with the Pennsylvania State Police and a representative from the National Transportation Safety Board. Norma Jean was not happy. She didn't speak to me for the last few hours before I dropped her off at a place in Hagerstown. I promised to pick her up the next day. Mr. Terrell, I'm Detective Naranha from the Pennsylvania State Police, and this is Bill Fritz from the NTSB. As if I was supposed to know what that was. We were in one of the offices at the Franklin headquarters. I had the feeling it was a police interrogation. Mr. Terrell, do you know this woman? Naranha slid a photo of Norma Jean across the table. Yes, that's Norma Jean. She's my partner. She's been with me for over 9 months. Why do you ask? What do you know about her? Only what she told me. She was married, but her husband died. She has no children, and her parents live in Florida. She talks a lot, but doesn't give away much. If you know what I mean. Anything unusual you've noticed? Yes, I have. She doesn't like mayonnaise. She hates country and Western music. She loves butter pecan ice cream. We mean personality-wise. Bill Fritz tried to interject. Well, she refuses to enter the state of Pennsylvania. Whenever I have a job that requires me to go into or through Pennsylvania, she asks me to drop her off somewhere. I pick her up later. Is that what you mean? Exactly. Would one of you gentlemen care to explain what I'm doing here and what exactly you're trying to accomplish? Norma Jean is a good friend of mine, and I don't want to make a fool of her, especially when I don't know why. Bill Fritz leaned in closer and asked, where is she now? I don't know. I left her at Love's in Hagerstown. Fritz immediately left the room. Naranha brought me a cup of coffee. Norma Jean is suspected of murdering 6 people. 5 of them were truck drivers. The first was her husband. We're puzzled because you're still alive. That's bullshit. It's a fact, Mr. Terrell. It took some time to connect all the dots. But that's what happened. All 6 died right after having sex with Norma Jean. The FBI crime lab was able to gather and compare data from several hundred possible crime scenes. 6 of them matched. Norma Jean was the common factor. But I'm still alive. Correct. And there haven't been any fatalities in the past 9 months. Besides the fact that you never had sex with her, We don't know why she stopped killing. How? Did she kill them? It seems she gave them sleeping pills or some sedative and put a plastic bag over their heads. She even left the bags with her fingerprints. All 6 of them. Yes, there might have been more than 6. But that's all we know about at this point. Bill Fitz returned to the room. She's gone. She was caught on surveillance cameras earlier today, but she's not there now. How did you know she was with me? We spent hundreds and hundreds of hours reviewing surveillance footage from service centers. In almost every picture we found, you were there. Of course, it took some time to identify who you were. We were worried you might be involved with her. And now what? You're clear. By the way, your wife is eagerly waiting to hear from you. How did you know that? That was the first place we want to try to find you. We had no idea you had separated. Sorry if we messed up. By the way, she's living in Westchester with her parents now. Can I go? Yes. I need to deliver my load first. Would it be a bad idea for me to return to Hagerstown? Possibly. But we can't stop you. We will be looking for her. And you might lead us to her, if you know what I mean. Are you saying that by looking for her, I might inadvertently expose her? That's correct. No, I didn't contact Marcy or either of my daughters. I was still a bit upset about her affair and my daughter's reactions. I didn't return to Hagerstown after leaving Pennsylvania. I wanted to, but I didn't want to risk it for my friend's sake. 3 months later, Detective Naranya called me. John, I just wanted to let you know that she struck again. This time it was in Pennsylvania. Sorry to hear that. Was it another truck driver? No, this time it was an ordinary guy. His name was Craig Butler from Allentown. Story 2. The toilet seat was up. I stood there looking at it, wondering if it meant what I thought it did. My wife Sally has a pet peeve about this. If I leave it like that, she'll have a fit. So I put this seat down after I finished my business. I had just returned home from a 3-day trip with a client from another city. 2 hours and a couple of beers on the plane, then another hour in traffic before I got home at 9 in the evening. After a quick hug and kiss with Sally, I headed straight to the bedroom bathroom and made my discovery. Sally is my second wife. Some say my trophy wife. She's a beauty, standing at 5 feet 2 inches, and built like a Playboy model. She's 20 years younger than my 48 years and is a very cheerful and friendly person. I divorced my first wife because I found out she was cheating on me, and probably my history naturally makes me suspicious. Also, being a lawyer, I get to see some of the worst sides of people. I had no other reasons to suspect Sally of cheating. Our sex life was good, or at least I thought so, and I never noticed any changes in her attitude towards me. But as I said, being a lawyer, my firm is large and I am the managing partner, which means I make a lot of money, so Sally doesn't need to work. She just needs to look beautiful for me. We handle all kinds of legal work, with each partner specializing in a particular area. So I want to chat with our guy who deals with domestic issues, including divorce. Once burned, I had him draft a prenuptial agreement that was ironclad. Yes, I was quite well protected. He agreed that if we could prove infidelity, she was done for. I really love this girl, but I'm not going to become a cuckold in my own home. So we set things in motion. We hire a private firm to conduct all sorts of investigations, from insurance fraud to marital infidelity, and a few days later, a report came in that Sally had met a young man for lunch, and they drove in her car to a local motel for a few hours. The detectives couldn't identify him or observe what happened in the motel room. A few days later, there was a repeat performance at another restaurant and motel. The next week, I had to visit a client in another city for 2 days. A report came in that the young man arrived at my house about an hour after I left and stayed the night. This time, they got his identification from the car registration. It turned out that this guy was her high school sweetheart. I guess she never really grew up. In any case, my guys came over, hooked up recording devices to the phones, installed video recorders in all the rooms where the cheaters were likely to play, and even put a microphone in the headboard of the marital bed. 2 weeks later, I left town for another 2-day trip. When I returned, the investigators had plenty for me, all recorded, with video and audio, time-stamped and dated. He arrived in the evening, parked his car in my driveway, used his key, and just walked in through the front door. He didn't even have to ring the bell. She had given him a key. She met him in the hallway, wearing a garter belt, thigh-high, stockings, and high heels. Nothing else. She looked stunning, sexy, and so desirable. That's why I married her. But now it was for someone else. She threw herself into his arms, wrapped her arms around his neck, and kissed him. Her body pressed against his hands cupped her buttocks, and they stood like that for a few minutes, just tasting each other. She knelt down, frantically unbuckled his belt, pulled down his zipper, removed his pants and underwear, and then took him. I saw her cheeks swell, and she swallowed him whole. Now I knew why she felt so good in bed with me. She took his hand and led him to the living room, where they kissed again. Soon she was sitting on the edge of the sofa, and he was on his knees before her, burying his face in her lap. He must have been very good, as she exploded twice. Then he turned her around, bent her over the couch, and they continued. She was hot, and he was a stud. It was time for a break. While she poured martinis, he finished undressing. They sat, naked, drinking and discussing their plans. They wanted to run away together, but didn't have the money. I had given her several valuable pieces of jewelry worth over $1 million, but they were in our bank's safe, and she couldn't access them without me. I, on the other hand, could get to the safe without her. Sally said, I know how we can get a lot of money from my husband. How? Kidnap me. What? I mean fake it. How? In a few weeks, we're going to a big wedding. He'll want me dressed to the nines with all my jewelry. He likes to show me off. During the wedding reception, I'll disappear with all my jewels. I'll get on a plane and be in Rio de Janeiro by morning. Meanwhile, you'll leave a ransom note demanding $5 million for my safe return. Once you get the money, you can join me in Rio. The dumb fool bought into this idea, and they returned to having sex. He took her in positions that I had never even thought of, let alone tried. On the stairs and later in the bedroom. The sounds she made were incredible. Yes, yes. Harder. I love you. More. Make me your baby. This guy acted in ways I never could. But that didn't excuse her behavior, and I was determined to make them pay for it. All her jewelry was custom-made, and I had copies of each piece made from fake metals and non-precious stones. I know how insurance works and didn't want to take any risks. When the time for the wedding came, I gave her the fake jewelry. She never noticed the difference. Well, she disappeared as planned and flew to Rio. I was happy to let her go. As far as I knew, she had almost no money with her. Just some change for pocket expenses. I canceled all her credit cards and closed our joint bank accounts. I don't even know if she had enough money to check into a hotel. When he tried to collect the ransom, the cops were waiting for him. He got 5 years for attempted extortion. Serves the asshole right. He should have put the toilet seat down. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of Cheating Secrets. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.